Welcome to the Quill and Sword Podcast. I'm Sergeant First Class Trey Engel, NCOIC of the Center for Law and Military Operations, or CLAMO. Today, we're in Charlottesville, Virginia, at the Judge Advocate General's Legal Center and School. We have the privilege and opportunity to discuss leadership lessons with the current Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Center for Initial Military Training and former First Sergeant of the Chosen Company, 173rd Airborne Brigade, Command Sergeant Major Beeson. Welcome, Command Sergeant Major. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
For the listeners out there, I want to give you some highlights on your background, and then we'll kind of get started. So you're from Greenville, Indiana, enlisted in the Army in 1988, and attended basic combat training and advanced individual training as an 11 Bravo infantryman at Fort Benning, Georgia. Your deployments include Operation Just Cause, Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. Your military education includes, but is not limited to, the Drill Sergeant School, Ranger School, Basic Airborne School, Jump Master School, and the United States Army Sergeant Major's Academy, Class 62. You hold a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a focus on Homeland Security from the University of Maryland. And your awards and decorations include the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star Medal with 2 Oak Leaf clusters, the Purple Heart, and the Army Commendation Medal with Valor, just to name a few. So, Sergeant Major, what we like to do today is just to give judge advocates and paralegals valuable insights on leadership, the importance of realistic training, and taking care of your mind and body, as seen through the lens of a tested and proven combat leader like yourself. So, as some time has passed since the Battle of Wanat, as you reflect, what are your key leadership lessons you can take away from that crucible experience?
I would say that what is really difficult to grab a hold of is the camaraderie and esprit de corps that you have with a unit that goes through something like that. And so I took over the 509th Airborne Battalion in Alaska, and I wanted so much to bring the 173rd passion there, and it's so hard to do if you don't go to combat. So my question, and has been since that time, has been, how do you get that? How do you get that camaraderie and esprit de corps? And I think the biggest lesson learned is engaged leadership, and I talked about that today in the Wanat brief, and then servant leadership. If people know that you are there to serve them, and that is your sole focus, then the chances of getting buy-in from them and an understanding of who you are and who they are. And then on top of all of that, you go into being real. So that's the thing that I have done my whole career is, if you're talking to me, what you see is what you get. I'm not putting on a show for anybody, and the cussing comes out with it. But I'm not trying to put on a show. What you see is what you get. And then if you think that you're a leader out there, and you think that if you're putting on a front, and you think that these young bucks and females can't figure that out, you're sadly mistaken. And that's the thing that we got to realize. Be real, be genuine, servant leadership, engaged leadership. And I talked about it today, engaged leadership. Everybody talks about it. That's a freaking buzzword, and I'm so tired of hearing it because everybody talks about it, but nobody, well, I wouldn't say anybody. I said most leaders don't dig in and don't say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm doing for engaged leadership. Here's my thing. It's a buzzword that everybody says, okay, we're going to be engaged. We're going to go do this. Yeah. But what are you going to do? How are you going to dig in? Are you taking your soldiers to lunch? Are you treating them to lunch once a week? Or are you having an NCO PD or NCO call that's not at night, it's at the end of the day, so you're not burning up their family time? These are the things. How are you engaging with them and telling them that here's the things that we need to work on, and here's the things that you're amazing on? That's another thing, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Going straight into counseling. We're not good at counseling. What we counsel on is when people screw up. That's what we're really good at counseling on, because we know we have to have it in paper if we want to remove them later, which is ridiculous. If you have a soldier that continues to be top-notch person. Performance counseling, automatically, that is a direct reflect on your unit of how good he is, and you need to let him know. Because people want accolades, they want to know if they're amazing, and on the other hand, they want to know if they suck. If I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, my daughter just went, she's at 101, and she just got there. She went through basic and AIT, and she's a signaleer, and it was very disappointing to hear her talk about her unit does not have that passion and didn't inculcate her in, and she has lost a lot of passion because of the way that they brought her in, the replacement battalion, and then they went into her unit, and she doesn't feel the love that I told her was there, and was all part Army. So it's just very disappointing in that aspect.
That's good feedback, Sergeant Major. You know, I heard a lot, like through your speech and then what you're saying now, being real and being open and, not putting on a front. And I know for myself and NCOs that I've served with, it's been tough to shed the tough guy or I'm impervious to anything persona. With that in mind and being real, I understand that the holistic health and fitness is one of your passions. How are some of the tools in the H2F helping you and others grow from experiences facing combat or other stressful times?
So the first thing I want to say, so this is a pitch for my boss, General Klein, but holistic health and fitness is the biggest performance optimization program in the world ever. It's a lot of money going into this, and this is how much that the Army believes in H2F and all the 5 pillars that come with it. It's just amazing that everybody knows that physical fitness, that's a key pillar. Got it. What they don't know is that there are 4 other pillars that are equally traumatic to your body if you don't get it. And what was interesting to me is when I was growing up, I was told that, when you're tired and you want to get some sleep is a crutch. And I know, Sergeant Angle, you were told that same thing. You'll get enough time to sleep when you're dead. And with this new program, we have found out that if you go 3 hours, or 2 days without sleep, or a day and a half without sleep, that contributes to the same thing as being drunk on certain levels. And I talked to the holistic health and fitness director, Colonel Beagleman, and I said, hey, check us out. You got 5 pillars. What's the most important? Just from you, what do you think? And he said, I would say, so it's very close between the mental and sleep. But he said sleep is, if you don't get the right sleep, everything else on the pillars is screwed up. Because you can't focus, your mind's not right, your physical fitness, your nutrition. You're definitely not, if you sleeping, you're not going to worry about, getting a spiritual aspect of it. So it's very interesting to hear him talk about and his side of it. But holistic health and fitness is absolutely huge. And what we're doing right now is trying to make sure that no one is rolling their own. They want the program, and we have 128 brigades that we're going to fill by 2030. So that means that some folks are not going to get it for another 4 or 5 years, and units want it so bad because it is, as far as resiliency, the total concept of doing this is huge, and if they don't have it, they want to build it. So we need to make sure that those folks that want to build it, we send a team and say, oh, okay, check it out. You want to build it without the proper people to do it, then you got to hire some folks in order to make it real. So 7-22 talks, that is holistic health and fitness, and then it has another book that talks about exercises and anything else you can do. So I would say look at that if you're wanting to build your own, or you want to be part of H2F and you're not getting slotted, then you need to take control and make sure you're doing it right. But it is a huge endeavor, and the Army, it sounds like they want to be part of this for the next 50 years. So
Absolutely, Sergeant Major. I appreciate that. At CLAMO, we work closely with the combat training centers, and you stressed in your lecture today, training the right way so that when the combat situation comes around, they're prepared, the soldier's prepared. And you kind of touched on it, like, hey, we owe it to American sons and daughters to give them the training to be effective in combat. How important is the emphasis on realistic training and doing training the right way to make our force more effective?
What a fantastic question. Yes. So again, I talked about this in the Wanat brief, but the importance, if you're going to be, for example, because I'm infantry, I got to use that one. If you're going to be firing your weapon and you need more trigger time, if you always do it in the sunlight with a nice cool breeze and you're chilled out, then you're going to be a failure when it's raining or snowing or muddy. You don't know how to grip your magazines. You don't know how to hold your rifle because your gloves are wet. Your hands are all pruny. How do you shoot during those times? And the infantry team, because of the repetition and how we do that, is huge. And the big training and little training, but little training, little awesome teams lead to big awesome units. So.
What is one thing that we and the legal field, judge advocates and paralegals, from your foxhole, what can we do better to support the client? What, off the top of your head, what can we do being better? Do we need to know the client better, get that experience out in the field where we kind of know what's going on when those investigations are coming across the desk? Or what do you think, Sergeant Major?
Understanding, and that's the key. We are the client, and that's the key. And that's so huge, and a lot of people don't think about it. And if you're the JAG Corps, your job is to sit in an office or in a courtroom and make rules, regulations, and but you don't have the ground truth. Who have you talked to that has ground truth under what's happening? And I think, just like you were saying, it's an understanding of who you are, and then who the people are that you're representing, and how do you fix them. And then I said this in the Wanat brief too, is if you have someone, and it's not your guys's job to find out who's guilty and not all the time, but it is the chain of commands. But so you don't assume. And I think I talked about soldiers that were not good soldiers, and then we took them to combat and they were amazing. And when we got back, it completely changed them. So people can change, and don't bring the hammer down on folks that have the potential to be leaders. But I think probably the biggest thing is an understanding of what it is that we do. And that's not just infantry. I'm speaking infantry because that's what and who I am. But it doesn't matter your MOS. If you're the judge or all other legal ramifications that are part of that team for artillery or a basic training unit. If you're the legal team, who are you talking to? What have they been through? Where have they been? And just like in BCT, if you're a legal team for BCT, you got to understand that these are kids that just came off the streets, and maybe they weren't raised right, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? And I think they can be helped, and for you to understand where they come from so you can either defend or prosecute in the way that you're supposed to. So.
Sergeant Major, so what I heard from that is, I think everything comes down to relationships, build relationships, shared experiences, share the suck, if you will, getting out in the field, doing those CTC trainings. That's imperative to know your client, number one, and understand where they're coming from, and then you're also getting some of those soldier skills so we can be better serve you guys as the client.
And that's the huge part. So if you're going to the field and your unit is in a big TOC, why can't you have a desk in the TOC, and then you go out and you visit units that are out there so you see, know, and understand of whatever it is, even if it's logistics, what do they do as part of that? And you're right, get to know, be there with them. And as a matter of fact, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with just knowing them. If you're a legal team and you come up and you're adjudicating something, or in the process of adjudicating, and nobody knows who the hell you are, you're not doing a very good job. Why don't they know? So you should go to their units, and even if you're not in the field, stop by a company and say, hey, I'm your legal guy. And so, hey, what do you got for me? What kind of questions? You know what I'm saying? So it's the relationship. It's absolutely huge.
As a final question, what's the most interesting thing that's come across your desk?
The most interesting thing. So the SMA just put out the 540, 80 points in each event, and that was that was hard to do because then we'd have to figure out anytime anybody makes a plan, there's second and third order effects that come with those, and what happens when they get a profile after they don't have to take a tape test, and those are as far as the military aspect of crazy things that have come across my desk. It's freaking awesome. What I would like to say and do a shout out on is, if you guys don't, the people that train all of our soldiers, the drill sergeants. We have completely revamped the Drill Sergeant Academy, and that is a world-class unit. And if any of you ever get a chance to go there and to see them and talk to the commandant, we changed the commandant of the Drill Sergeant Academy from a colonel equivalent to a 2-star level equivalent. So the power base, more relevance. That's the right word, right?
Relevance, yeah.
Relevance.
Sorry, Major.
more relevance so he can go out and do some marketing for the academy. And these guys, there's only 3,700 of them, and they train every single soldier coming in. And you're talking about 120,000 a year of new recruits coming in. So to understand who and what does that, and I just wanted to make sure I give a shout out because they're doing a great job there and completely revamped the POI.
As we conclude, I'd be remiss if I didn't take advantage of having a lifelong infantryman here in the chair to not get one field hack from you. What's a good field hack that makes your life a little bit easier in the field that you like to share?
Don't sleep on the ground.
Don't sleep on the ground.
Yeah. So you figure out how not to be on the ground. If you want wood, or you put something down. Infantryman sleeps on the ground, and if there's any way you can, you probably have about a quarter less bug bites on you and nastiness. And then always use your poncho, even if you think it's not going to rain.
That's great insight, Sergeant Major. All right, that's all we have for now. Sergeant Major Beeson, thank you so much for your insight and what you've done for the Army and what you're continuing to do for the Army. I'm certain your comments will definitely inspire those of us in the JAG Corps listening and better prepare us to assist you as our clients, right? For our audience, please follow the Quill and Sword on your favorite podcast platform and be on the lookout for the next weekly episode. By following the Quill and Sword, audience members will access all the podcast content from the Judge Advocate General's Legal Center and School, including Criminal Law Presents, the National Security Law Unscripted. Stay ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
The views expressed or implied on this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the United States Army JAG Corps or other organizations with which the participants are associated or by whom they are employed.